Hi, I'm Dr. Shaina. Today we're going to talk a little bit about posture, form, and movement patterning. So there's some information floating around that might make some people believe that they're fragile, that certain postures are bad, that certain movement is bad. This mindset's actually pretty limiting because it might lead to some fear avoidance, like you're avoiding doing things because you might feel that you might injure yourself, or limited ability. Because you avoid doing some certain things, when you have to do it, you might have an issue trying to do it. We as humans are actually able to do extraordinary things. When you look at performers and athletes and manual laborers, we look at strong person competitors, people are able to do so much and not necessarily get injured or hurt or fall apart. Our bodies are really resilient. We can train ourselves to be able to tolerate different activities, different positions, different loads. Sometimes it just takes gradual, progressive adaptation and training. There's no inherently wrong movement or posture other than the ones that overstress tissue. We're not trying to tear muscles or sprain ligaments or break bones. We don't want to try to do that, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't roll your ankle out like this ever because you're scared of spraining your ankle. We should be able to move through that range until it stops us, but then also have active control to be able to flip ourselves back if we overload too far into that range to avoid spraining our ankle. So again, training is so important actively to help support your passive mobility. So if there's no inherently bad posture or movement to begin with, then why are we even talking about posture and form? Let's go into posture first. Postures are simply positions. They're how we carry ourselves throughout the day. So there's no inherently bad posture. They're just bad if you stay there for too long. So in general, sometimes people think this is bad posture. Not necessarily bad inherently, but more so people tend to stay in these postures for too long. They can get stiff into these postures. So when you try to move out of it, there's some things fighting you in terms of muscle tension, in terms of joint stiffness. And so your body tells you that you want to move in and out of it. Part of why when you get uncomfortable through here, it feels really great to kind of stretch out and then open up. You have to balance out those postures. So part of why is when you position yourself in these type of postures, gravity pulls on you differently. If my head is a little bit forward and my shoulders rounded, then my head, essentially, if I'm relaxing, wants to fall forward. So my muscles have to work extra hard to help hold myself up, as compared to if I'm a little bit more stacked and my head is more balanced on my skeleton. When we're in different postures, gravity pulls differently, asking different muscles to work at a different range. If you hold them for a little bit longer, that's like an isometric hold. You're using those muscles for a while because posture is held by a low level of muscle contraction, sometimes higher if you get really stressed, but we'll go on that in a different day. So if you're in certain postures for an extended amount of time, sometimes you might get stiff into that posture and hard to move out of it. And so if you have certain range of motion, this much range of motion in a joint, and you only use this much of it, after time and you only use that much of it, you might end up only having that much. So you want to try to maintain what you have or even increase what you have if you don't have quite enough, and then train actively to help keep it. Use it or lose it. So further, if you need to move through different positions, which are different postures, as if you're trying to clean your house a little bit more, you're trying to build furniture, you're getting into these positions that you don't necessarily visit that often in your day-to-day, your normal day-to-day, then you want to prepare to be able to do that when you want to and when you need to. Further, it's really important to understand where you are and really sense where you are. So if you get into a certain position or you tend to stay in a certain posture for too long, you might not even realize that your body's recalibrating to think that that's your neutral. Some people that I've worked with, they've been so used to doing this or leaning over to one side that once I show them that they are there, they didn't even realize it. And it's shocking to kind of feel what that neutral actually feels like, because it feels like it's farther into the opposite direction. So you're training sense of your position in space. So it's not just what exercise do you do, but largely how you do it, what your form looks like, what your strategies look like. This is the main thing where you really heighten what you get out of your exercise. You can be doing the same exercise for a really long time, but then if you change your form and you do it a little bit differently, maybe all of a sudden it becomes really hard in a way that you never knew before, because you're not compensating with what you know how to use. We're teaching you how to use what you may not be able to use quite as much, and then you can integrate that into your activity outside of there so that you can offload some of the tissues and some of the muscles and joints that just get overloaded and overused because you don't know how to move a different way, or you don't know how to stabilize a different way. During your exercise, every rep is an experience. I don't expect form to be perfect from the beginning. If you get your exercise a little bit off in the first rep and then do it a little differently in the next rep, every rep is an experience. It gives you information as you perform each rep from your sensory receptors to communicate with your brain, and then you're using your brain to try to tell your body, how do I adjust to do something differently? So when you can self-correct and when you have that sense of self of what position you're in, whether you use cues from someone who's guiding you or a mirror for visual feedback or other assists to begin with, that way you can progress towards doing it independently and really knowing where you are. That helps guide you to become more empowered and more independent in doing those exercises and more clear in knowing when I'm trying to do this, I'm doing this in this way and I'm not compensating in the ways that I tend to. It can be difficult to objectively assess yourself. So sometimes it helps to have guidance on form, postures, movement patterning, stabilization patterning, what position that you're in, how you're recruiting your muscles, just to help guide you to really make that balance and make that connection of what am I telling my body to do, and is my body actually doing that in reality? As your body adapts over time and your nervous system adapts, you may not even realize that you have fallen into these stuck patterns and fallen into this tendency to do exercises in a certain form that may not be optimal for you. And so having some guidance through a physical therapist or a chiropractor to help guide you through and really make that connection of the sense of self and engagement in the way where you might have lost can be really powerful in you getting back your empowerment and independence to sense it yourself and then to carry you forward in your activity or your sport. So don't be afraid to move. Don't necessarily be afraid to be in certain postures because it's not bad. It's just we might have to balance these out and tweak things up a little bit so that we decrease the sensitivity of your nervous system and help you be able to do it and be able to do it often and come in and out of it. If these feelings are some of the things that you're experiencing where you're not really sure where you are in space, you're having trouble really sensing your body, then give us a call and take a look at our website and reach out. Don't hesitate. We're here and we're happy to speak with you and work with you.
Hey, if you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification for our latest tips coming to you every week. Share this video with your family and friends. It might just make their day a little bit better. I'll see you soon.